Nate Urandi, Orion Training Systems. Have a pretty cool post to share with you here, so I'm hoping you stick with me through it all. The punchline is pretty darn cool at the end. Had a whirlwind of a weekend last weekend. On Saturday, we had the Colorado Hill Climb State Championships here, and was part of the finale, helped instigate the race, and my team went first, second, fourth. Unfortunately, I was fourth, got out sprinted at the line for third, but it was a great race. Up Mount Evans, started in Idaho Springs at about 7,000 feet, finished at about 14,200 up the highest paved road in the U.S., an iconic race on anybody's racing calendar. But then I flew down the mountain, quite literally on the bike, jumped in my car, sprinted home, just enough time to shower up and change, kiss my wife, and then jet over to the airport to hop on a flight to New York City. Landed at about 11 p.m., got to the hotel at midnight, got about 3.5 hours sleep, and woke up Sunday morning. Now you're probably wondering what the heck I was doing, but I went to be a handler for a paralyzed athlete, a gentleman, Aaron Essner, who I've been coaching for about a dozen years now. First as a triathlete, we got him down from about a 12-hour Ironman to 10.5 hours, and then more recently as a cyclist, was doing the Green Mountain Stage Race a couple of years ago in a hilly stage of the race in terrible weather, skidded out on one of the descents. Terrible accident, and he was left paralyzed from the sternum down. Been a long road back for Aaron, but this was his coming out party as a para-athlete, and I wasn't going to miss that for the world. As a handler, we have to, each athlete, para-athlete gets 2 handlers. We have to help the athletes, obviously into their wetsuit for the swim. There's also a leg brace that Aaron wears to keep his legs straight, so his legs don't sink. That's made out of carbon fiber. He then does the swim. We help him get out of the water, put him in his regular wheelchair so that he can wheel himself to the transition area, get him out of that wheelchair into his hand cycle. He goes off, comes back. We then get him out of the hand cycle into the racing cycle, and he's off on the run course. Anytime he needs help along the way, he has to ask for it. There's no free gifts here. But watching him compete, watching other para-athletes compete, watching amputees compete, whether it's a partial limb, a full limb, both legs, crazy stuff. Very humbling experience. Puts what I do as an able-bodied athlete on a bike into quite a different perspective. And the mad respect I got through this experience was not something I expected. It's a lens into what these athletes experience on a daily basis, and the challenges and the thought and the requirements of assistance is something that's going to be with these people every single minute of their lives for the rest of their lives. And I can't even fathom or comprehend that. And, being almost 48 years old, what it really rammed home is that sport is just a part of who we are. And for those who have been lifelong athletes like myself, I first jumped in the water at age 5 on the swim team. We say it's part of our DNA, and it absolutely is, but it's still just something that we do. It's part of who we are, but it doesn't define who we are. And if we allow it to define who we are, we got to take a step back and really gain some perspective here and realize that, yes, competition is good for the soul, but we have to go into it with the right perspective. We have to admire our surroundings while we put the bit between our teeth on some hard bike intervals, or we have to absorb how sweet the air is that we smell as we're out on our long runs. We have to just enjoy the very zen-like presence of being in the pool by ourselves, even if we're surrounded by other swimmers. And we have to admit to ourselves that, we're simply deciding to attach importance to this thing that is really just no different than playing a game. When we look at it, it is a game, and there is value and there is enjoyment to be pulled out of that, but we have to keep the perspective. So that's the punchline. If you have any ability to do something like this, be a handler for a para-athlete or lend a hand to someone who has physical challenges, unlike those who are fully able-bodied, I highly recommend it. Definitely a tectonic shift in some regards to how I view things. I love Aaron to death, and I'm so glad that he asked me to be one of his handlers along with his wife. Very, very humbling experience that I won't forget anytime soon. So with that, as always, leave your comments below, and happy training.